Music production is an art, so it is with every aspect of the creative industry. Wow, this is My Music on Television, and my name is K9. Good to be on the show. Glad to have you on the show. This week it's exciting. I want to first of all thank all those who have continued to vote, support this show by subscribing and hitting that notification button. You know what? Your votes have counted, and today we are presenting you with that artist that you have nominated. Let me not bore you. I don't want to mention his name or her name. You know what? Sit back and enjoy the show. I'll be right back.
Greetings, all massive and crew, and I say respect due to you, and Father God knows who. Well, this is the one called Daddy Sinclair, the most lyrical, most article, most intellectual entertainer for years without fears or tears. Run things here, there, and everywhere. Yes, I. My name is KOMBOYE Senclair. Better known as PUPA Senclair, Daddy Sinclair. I'm from Nigeria, obviously. I'm from the Niger Delta part of Nigeria, from Bayelsa State. But I was born in Lagos, yes, in the mid-60s. And I relocated to Port Harcourt with the rest of my family in the early 70s, specifically after the war. So I basically grew up in Port Harcourt. Yes, I'm what you can call a Port Harcourt boy. Yes, the music industry in Nigeria has grown in leaps and bounds. Not industry as you will want to define it. Yes, but the music has sold itself. Because from what I know in other climes, there's some governmental support to help build an industry. But the industry, the music industry has built itself in Nigeria, and kudos has to be given to the practitioners in the industry, especially in Lagos. It's really grown. Artists are beginning to earn a lot more than they used to. I got involved with the music when I was very, very young, as a disc jockey, as a rapper, a performer, then later became a producer, which I still am right now. And I can at least chronicle the different levels the industry has progressed from when I was in secondary school, when I got involved with the business up till now. You know, we got into it when it was more for the love of it. We were not thinking about money. It was the passion. We just wanted to entertain. We wanted to make people happy. Whatever came out of it, we were good with that. But at some point, because you know they say show business, we were concentrating on the show. But now I think there's a balance now between the business and the show. Yes, and that is working very well for the artists of today, and I really am happy for them. I am. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I got involved in the music industry a long time ago. A long time as a secondary school boy, as a DJ, as a singer, a performer. I enjoyed performing in front of audiences. I loved it so much. Then in the course of my journey, at some point, there was conflict of ideas, because a lot of ideas in my head I want to put down. The producers and engineers were not ready, were afraid to experiment with those ideas. So that prompted me to want to seek other ways to tackle that problem. Whenever we were working in the studios, I realized I was always paying attention to what the engineers were doing, what the producer was demanding of everybody in the studio. I was very attentive to all that. And somewhere back of my mind kept me, I would love to do this someday. And at some point, and like I keep telling people whenever they discuss with me about this, I was like one engineer put it, one of those old engineers in EMI those days. He said, "Young man, you're way ahead of your time. A lot of people will not understand what you're trying to do now, but years to come, I pray you're still alive to see it happen." You know, I was very adventurous. I was very I didn't enjoy doing normal things. I loved to go away I like to move out of the box. So there are certain ideas I wanted to try out those days, and the producers were a little bit dogmatic in their approach. So they felt, what are you trying to do? You want to upset the whole system. That's not how it is done. And the question I used to ask was, give me a rule book that says this is how it should be done. You know, somebody has to start something. So at some point I said, look, I think the only way I can put my ideas down was to get my own equipment. Then a good friend of mine from way back when, Roland Ajomiwe, we used to call him Romantic Rolly back in the day, he had equipment for sale, home studio. So I bought it off him and I started practicing, reading about production, and a lot of my ideas, I started trying them out, and I discovered they were working. So the more I was getting involved with production, I started performing less because I was hardly going out. I was always locking myself up in the room trying to discover how best to make music. And I started reaching out to a lot of my friends who were artists. Two artists in particular really pushed me to want to own my own equipment. Belema Abaku, better known as Ruth Mantis, who I must say is one of the most talented human beings I've ever met in my musical journey. Then this other friend of mine I met in the university, Tayo Obasi, we call him Jati. Yeah. So I started working with those guys. We started experimenting with a lot of ideas, and it was coming through. So, and word just started going out that PUPA Sinclair is doing stuff. Sinclair is now producing. He's doing some crazy stuff. He's just doing stuff that's not normal. So a lot of artists started trooping in. A whole lot of artists started coming in, and I started getting jobs. In fact, when I started, I wasn't collecting any money from anybody. I just wanted to see what I could do. But I found that I became a lot more in demand from within and outside my zone. So we now had to put some price to what we were doing. And since between that time, that period, and now, man, it's been awesome. It's been awesome because I've worked with international artists, I've worked with local artists, I've birthed fresh talent and all that. Now you were talking about how we set out for a production. First things first, for me, I can't speak for the next producer, because I tell people, if you give 10 producers your song, you're going to get 10 songs. Of one particular song, you're going to get 10 songs, because each person has his own approach. For me, I'd like to hear what is playing in your head. What are you hearing when you're singing this song? What's playing in your head? Let's start from there. And I try as much as possible not to take this song away from the artist, because a lot of producers, knowingly or unknowingly, especially producers who are also singers, active singers, they end up defining the song the way they would have done it. Yeah? Now when they're passing the word across, they're like, do it like this, do it like that. But what this is, the message they are actually sending out is, this is how I would have done it. So you have artists who at the end of the session, they're not happy with the song inside, but maybe out of respect or whatever. Because at some point you've taken the song away from them. You know, I describe a song that an artist brings like skeleton, a bone. So my job is to help. Yes, to add flesh here and there, pad it up here and there, and make it interesting to the artist and the man out there who does not have any relationship with the artist. Because when you know that you're listening to a good song is when somebody who has no bias, not your relative, not your friend, somebody who has nothing to do with you, hears that song and says, wow, this is nice. And also that brings me to criticizing or analyzing a song. I don't think musicians are the best people to analyze or criticize another artist's song, because they'll always see it from their own perspective. And their perspective is not necessarily the right perspective. Every artist will see it. That's why you sing a song, like there's this song I heard that's been trending lately, done by that Ogoni, that young man. I heard another guy do a cover, and it was awesome. But what this guy did, the cover, is try to give it a R&B feel with all those inflections and all that. But the young man who had that idea just did it raw as it came to him, you know. Another person will do that same song and give it his own interpretation. So most times, if I do a song, I usually call the man on the street. Sometimes I call my mom, and I play the song, and I watch her reaction, because she doesn't even know anything about key or chords and all that. She just knows a good song. If she moves to it or she bobs her head to it, I know, okay, something is happening here, you know? And that's how it is. So we usually prepare by getting what the artist has to give. Sometimes we help with the lyrics, because some artists just get a raw idea. Songwriting is an art. There are some they just have the melody. They can't really put the words properly, so it's interesting to the listener. So we help in that aspect also. And when we have all the basics down, then I begin to invite. I like working with people. I enjoy working with people. If I know you can give me a better drum pattern for that song, I say, listen to this song, what do you think? Yo, the bass line, what do you think? This is what's playing in my head, what do you think? So I like to work with a team. It helps. So that, and part of the reason I do that is so I don't sound. Though I concentrate a lot of my energy now on mixing and mastering, because the vibe I get whenever I do a song, like, we love the way you treat your vocals, we love the final output. So I channel a lot of my energy towards mixing and mastering these days. And I still help with songwriting. I still help. And that brings us to your second question, setting out for production. Yes, for production, a lot of things come. Creativity on the part of the artist, on your part also. How are you able to merge ideas? Yeah? To merge ideas to form one beautiful thing for the man or woman out there to listen to. I always start from the artist. What is playing in your head? What are you hearing? When you're singing this song, what are you hearing? It doesn't matter how crazy you might think it is, but let me get that thing you're hearing. I always start from that point, because I try as much as possible to keep it within the artist's vision. Yes, and my popular saying is I work with the artist. I don't work for the artist, because if I work for him, I might end up changing that song from what he came with. So I try to avoid that, you know. So I try to work with the artist, work with what is coming, and as we progress, even he is part of the development, of the transition of the song from that raw state to what the final product will sound like. That's how I like to approach it. There are some artists who have wonderful vocals but can't write properly. We try to help, because I always say songwriting is an art on its own. And I'm sure if I was in a different climate, I would have been a multimillionaire from just songwriting alone. Yeah. So we help them with lyrics and all that. And sometimes you have artists who have issues with staying on a particular key. It's tough. It's really tough. But we have to look for a way. Like there's this particular artist, beautiful ideas and all that, but he had issues with the key. We actually had to translate the whole song on the keyboard. So he went home and rehearsed that and came back, and we've done some crazy stuff just to get artists to sing, you know. So that's it. And the bottom line is I work with the artist, not for the artist.
This is the voice system that sing alongside our country now. Truth and right to come to let them know. I saw. One star. Boom.
Every night and day I wonder how do you them surviving on the street? We've got so much things to bother. Do we have to blame it on society? I let the system mess with my brain. But if I do, who do I have to blame? From the sweat of my brothers, I should get out. Me not let nobody put iron down a tread. Remember, what did your mama tell you? What did your mama say? What did your papa tell you? When the one other man did on the street. No bow down. No bow down. No bow down. No bow down.
I said no, we not bow.
Pull up that. Big tune, my God.
Then artists I've worked with, too many to mention, too many. A lot of them unknown, but I respect because of their talent, and a good number of them couldn't get themselves on the bigger stage because of finance, some because of change of vocation and all that. Like there's this guy I met who came from Benin to work with me. Fantastic artist. We did some wonderful songs. I would love to work on those songs again. I was really looking forward to that guy hitting the Nigerian music scene. The next thing I heard, he was working offshore. He abandoned the music and was working offshore. Maybe things were tight for him and he felt, okay, instead of waiting for the music, let me go this way. But once in a while I play those songs and I'm like, my God. A whole lot of artists I've worked with, but some you know, a lot of them you don't know. I work with Buchi, the gospel artist. I do most of his songs now. Work with Ibiso, Edwards. Worked with Mojo Morgan of the Grammy-winning Morgan Heritage. He spent like a month with us here in Port Harcourt. Yeah. Worked with Little Daniel, who is in Germany. Worked with a couple of artists in America. Because what I usually do now, I stay here in Port Harcourt, I get data of people's songs and they want me to mix because a lot of people say my approach is different and they love what I do. Yeah, so that usually I do a lot of that where I get data from everywhere. You know, the world is a global village now. So sometimes I get only the vocals. Yes, I get only the vocals and I build a rhythm around it and send it back. It's been quite interesting. A whole lot of artists. I had something, we were working on a project with the late, great Ras Kimono. That's my friend and brother. Before he passed on, I still have the data, so maybe someday, with the consent of his daughter Oge, who I've also worked with, we might just visit that project again. A whole lot of people, and also Timaya, before he started, one of the first times he ever put his voice on the song was in my sitting room. Yes, he came with a group then. I think they were products of Mother Nature or something like that. Yeah. So too many artists to name, too many. Also worked with what's this guy now that I love so much? Afi Douglas. Afi Douglas and the guy with the hair, Samsung. Yes, they did one beautiful song with me too, way back. Because if I say yes and leave it at that, it leaves it open for a lot of debate. If I say no, likewise. So if you will permit me, I'll say yes and no. No, because the industry, or supposed industry, is concentrated in just one particular part of the country. Yes, because that supposed industry in that part has done well. That the music from Nigeria is now global. We even have a young man who used to come and sit with me in the studio when I do my radio program in the studio. Burna Boy, win a Grammy. I remember those days he would always come and sit with me every Wednesday when I'm doing my reggae program in the studio. And today he's a Grammy winner. And the guy who worked with him from the early stages, Lyric, his name actually is Eric, but we'll call him Lyric. I introduced him to production as a little lad because his dad and I were bona fide. So the industry in Lagos, yes, is taking shape. It's expanding. Artists are getting endorsements. They are making a lot of money, unlike my time. Yeah, but we need to spread it beyond Lagos, beyond the West. Yes, the boys from the South they've done their own bit, and then they've been carrying each other along, and they've been able to stamp themselves on the scene. But this part where I reside, Port Harcourt, too much talent, but sad to say, no industry. Everybody's just doing his own thing. Everybody's struggling on his own. The radio stations are not collaborating, and that word collaboration was what even defined the industry in Lagos. Because prior to that time, when I was just getting involved in the industry, artists never collaborated. Artists were suspicious of each other. They didn't trust each other. I remember those days you would go for a show and each artist had his own equipment on the same stage. I witnessed that a lot. But now every artist just comes, do their own beat and go away. People are working with people. And when this revolution started in Lagos, I was in Lagos then. I think I just finished my youth service, and I witnessed all that. These guys played a major role, Kenny Ogungbe and D1, yeah, because then they just came back from America, and I think he got to understand the business side of the whole industry, and with the power of the media, and employed that to its fullest. And this thing took off because nature doesn't allow for vacuum. Prior to that time, all the big stars in the country were leaving. Raskimono left, Majet left, Mandatos left, Mike Ockery left, Alexito left, a good number of them left. Yeah. So that space, something had, I think maybe the economic downturn at that point in time too also played a role, but something good comes out of every situation. And look at where the music is today. Look at where the music is today. It's heartwarming. Anywhere you go to. Anyway, I traveled to Dubai a couple of years ago, and I saw people reacting to Nigerian music. You can even see what happened at the World Cup at Qatar. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And also with the power of social media, the internet and all, you don't need to travel to those lands for people to see and hear what you're doing. Yeah, so the industry, in this part, we need to do a lot. We need to collaborate. Everybody, producers, songwriters, engineers, filmmakers, news media reporters, everybody we need to work as one for us to take the industry here to where it is in Lagos, because now even the corporate bodies are collaborating with artists in Lagos. But if you go and meet any corporate body here, even the service providers, they direct you back to Lagos. And that's a problem, because the man who buys his recharge card and all that in Port Harcourt, he doesn't have to go to Lagos to buy it. He's spending his money direct here. But when you have to give back, you say, go to Lagos and discuss with my people. I don't think it's right. But it's because we've not been able to centralize and organize ourselves to be able to speak with one voice and be heard. Each man is going to fight for his own little bit. It's not going to work that way. If we have a proper organization or proper association where even the government, we can take them on and they will listen. But if you go as an individual, who's talking to you? Who's talking with you? Yes, my name is KOMBOYE Senclair, aka PUPA Senclair, and you're watching my music on television. Boom.
And that's our show for this week, but we'll be back next week with you on the show. You ask, how do I do that? There's a number on the screen. That's our WhatsApp page. All you need to do is just nominate an artist of your choice and keep voting until that artist hit the spot. Wow. From all of us here, it's bye for now, and we'll see you next week.